Broadcasting around the world, this is On the Record with Christian Briggs. Serious talk about what's happening around the world and how it affects you. Unfiltered truth for a world on edge. Follow us on X at BMC_HAM. Live in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be really diving into the tariffs. I've got two of the smartest people. I think we have 3 PhDs between the 4 of you because you got 2 personalities. We've got the good guys and the bad guys in the room. So today on the record, we're going to be talking about the tariffs, China BRICS, and what the heck is this National Defense Authorization Act where the anti-CBDC language was pulled out? That's what I want to know. Why did you guys pull it out? Not you guys, but those guys, the guys up north. Why would they have pulled that out? Why would Elizabeth Warren be able to get some Republicans to take out the very language that supposedly is communist? It's communist, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not great.
So we've got Christopher.
Walker.
I can say it. Christopher Walker. I want to say Christopher Walken every time.
I know.
The actor, the man, the myth. Jeremy Tharp.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy, say hi.
Hey,
Wave.
Hi. Hey.
No, this way. You with your clothes. That way. Okay. So today we're going to be talking a lot about exactly what is the extent of the tariffs and how bad, if any, maybe they didn't hurt the economy, would be foolish to say that probably, but today we're going to be on the record and we're going to figure it out. We'll be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by Hard Asset Management. We have the lowest prices on all precious metals. Call us at 844-426-4653. That's 844-426-4653.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be talking a lot about the tariffs because it has become an issue. It's not just political; it's financial. And it doesn't just stop at the door for the manufacturers or the importers that are bringing this stuff in or bringing parts in. Certainly, the manufacturer, the kind of stuff that we were trying to bring back domestic. Here, Trump's got a pretty good plan. He's trying to say, "Hey, look, we're gonna make it expensive for you to buy overseas manufactured, imported things, whatever those things are, from cars to airplane parts, all the way down to furniture." And the reasoning behind it is actually pretty solid, and the amount of money that can be raised from the tariffs are pretty good. The problem is who's paying the tariffs? If it's a guy making $70,000 a year buying the essentials, things of which that he has to have, and they're 30%, 40, or even 50%. Hell, if they're 10%, that's 10% inflation on at least a portion of what he's spending on. That is not good. So we're going to talk today with 2 guys who know this business because they've lived this business, and we're going to ask them, and then we're going to go right into China and BRICS. So how is China playing the tariff war against us for their own benefit? And number 3, which is mind-boggling, why the National Defense Authorization Act last week was able to get stripped out, very specific language that is a deterrent for a central bank digital currency, which is programmable money, because once that comes out, you can't take it back, and next thing you know, all of your wealth, all of the things of which you transact with, whatever we're going to call these tokens, I don't know what the hell you want to call them. They're not
Stable
dollars, stable coins. I don't even know where the hell stable coin came from.
Honestly,
it's not stable.
Yeah.
It's not a coin. Just call it an algorithm. Call it funny money. I'll just call it monopoly money.
It is the hard. I don't know who defined it and how that came about, but it is the worst definition.
The worst definition in history.
Yeah.
And they promote it like it's good.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's like trying to do brain surgery yourself with a mirror, a butter knife, and a spoon. I don't think that's going to work that well. I mean, you can give it a shot, but at the end of the day, you got to look at it for what it is. Stable coin is not a stable coin. It's not even stable. It's not even a coin. It's really just a form of communistic fake money.
Yeah.
Because they can control it. Okay, here we go.
Digital money.
Digital money.
Yeah.
Okay, Christopher, take it from there. What do you think it is?
Okay.
Or we can talk tariffs. We'll talk tariffs.
Tariffs.
I got to talk tariffs. Jeremy, we're talking tariffs. Okay, go ahead. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think tariffs, I think you said it really well. There is revenue that can come from it, but I think there's a couple pieces of this that are missing in the conversation. One, I think there's a messaging problem here. The president has gone out there and kind of talked consistently, and he's been consistent on it since the 80s, frankly, about the benefit of having tariffs as a tool for revenue and for trade. The problem is it's being sold as an easy solution to budget problems, and it's not. If you're going to go to a tariff-based revenue model for the federal government, one, you should be lowering taxes. And two, we need to be talking about the long-term shift. I mean, this is a 10-year project potentially to get out of the entire global economy and reshore a lot of these things. It's going to take a long time. Nobody has patience for that, but that needs to be kind of what some of the messaging is around tariffs if we're full in. The problem is we're kind of half in, half not. We'll do a tariff on one day and we'll kind of pull it back the next day because the bond market crashes. And so we've talked about them a lot. A lot of people are paying tariffs, but I don't think we're kind of half pregnant here on it, and it's not actually doing anything particularly beneficial to the economy because it's raising prices. You're going to have consistent price raises now because once they're up, they're not coming back down. So you have people being able to use tariffs as a means to raise prices like forever, and blame President Trump on it rather than actually knowing what the market rate is for certain things. So, and I also think, unfortunately, from the president's standpoint and the White House staff, trade deficits are not a good indicator of the need for tariffs. They are, we have a trade deficit with a lot of people in part because they make goods that we don't, and that's fine. So, I'm generally a free market guy. I think the world has benefited from free trade, as Rand Paul said. If goods don't cross borders, soldiers will. And I think there's some truth to that. And I think free trade is the best way to kind of ensure economic mobility and upward mobility. We're in the freest, most open society we've ever had, and that's in part due to free trade. And I think a protectionist policy, we've seen it happen in Great Britain in the 1940s. And what happens after that was American ascendancy. As we get into a nationalistic, protectionist frame of mind, China becomes ascendant, and I think that's actually incredibly dangerous both for world economic stability and also American supremacy over the long haul, and we are falling into that trap right now.
That's well said. We're becoming too far in the protectionist mode. What do you think, Jeremy?
I see it from a real world perspective because, one of my clients is a global tractor brand. And I work in marketing for that brand. And, marketing globally has become difficult because they've seen 50% increases on parts and equipment. I'm seeing it real time. And they, from that perspective as well, farmers are seeing it real time.
Absolutely.
It's interesting to see. And, the budgets have been slashed literally in half, and that's just one brand. And as they, as more come across and we see more budgets for 26, we're seeing the same thing across the board. And that could be anything from anything imported, anything, domestically too. We're seeing, domestic products go up and budgets being slashed. So from a marketing perspective, definitely seeing a decrease and a big increase in price.
Yeah, and that's not sustainable.
No,
that's not sustainable.
It's not.
So when you look at the impact, let's just take widgets, the things of which are maybe from 50 cents to $10 to manufacture in China, and then you add probably a 200 to 300% increase in the price by the time it gets to the distributor, another 200 to 300% by the time it gets to consumer. So a dollar product could be $5, $6 retail consumer. It could be as high as 10. That's okay. It's not too bad because it's at the lowest point of manufacturing, the lowest point of consumption price model. That's what it is when you're manufacturing in China without tariffs. It's at the absolute lowest point. Everybody in that supply chain tries to find the least cost related to that specific item, from manufacturing to transportation, distribution, and then also ultimately retailing. But all of a sudden, that $10 product, not at the dollar manufacturing side, the $10 side is now 50% higher. And sometimes that $10 item is a critical product. It's not just some ornament on a Christmas tree, which could be significant because the seller of that now can't sell it because the $15, $30. Have you seen ornaments lately, by the way? Those glass ones? The tariffs? Those things blew up. They're like $50.
I noticed that too.
$50. I'm not paying $50 for a $25 item last year.
Across the country,
It's tradition. We have always had one.
Americans hoping to buy a real tree for the season find supplies are tight and prices are higher.
Yeah.
So who's going to suffer? Everybody in the supply chain. Everybody suffers.
Yep.
It's not China that suffers the most. They've got manufacturing partners all over the world. So now you have a consumer that says, I'm not going to buy it. And you go to these stores like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, Target, Walmart, and their sales are down, which means that hurts their profits. Company bonuses go down for the employees. Salaries don't go up. Why? Well, because they're not making as much money. The consumer's not spending because they can't afford it, or they don't feel the value is there.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people that have a lot of money can say to themselves, oh, I can afford it, but I don't want to spend it.
Well, we've seen a lot of people making choices right now.
Yeah.
You know, tourism spending is down. You know, we've got restaurant spending is down. We've heard from even like the CEO of McDonald's saying that they're seeing people skipping meals where they wouldn't have before. It impacts not only those businesses, but all of the ancillary businesses that are just part of our general economy. If people want to go out to eat, they're doing it less. And so that impacts that business as well. So again, I think that goes to the point of like, this is going to be a 10-year transition if we're going to go to a tariff-based model. The problem is, and I think you and I talked about this before we went on air, you know, Democrats in Washington are willing to wait the president out. And so from a standpoint of policy, we don't have the patience or the wherewithal to hold the line on a tariff-based federal government, you know, policy. And again, I just maintain, if you're going to talk about revenues for tariffs, then you have to lower taxes. And because now you're hitting taxpayers on both sides, both on the tariff side, that are, you know, people are paying the tariffs, but also we're still paying the same rates of taxes. And so it's a double whammy on the taxation and on the decrease of economic confidence. This is a triple whammy in terms of its negative impact on the economy. It's concerning to me that we're not addressing that larger issue. So again, like, I'm all for tariffs if that is our main source of income. Great, but it's not, because we still have an income tax, we still have a wealth tax, we still have all these other taxes that are still being implemented, and so it's double dipping on a revenue stream from the federal government, which is incapable of even managing an audit for even the Department of Defense. So when you're asking for more money for a Leviathan that can't even cut the USAID program, it starts to get a little concerning to me of like, what are we actually doing here?
Good point. Yeah, what are we doing here? So he's right. So if you have a tariff, and let's say it's 10%, 50%, not only are you taking so much cash out of the economy, is the revenues worth the destruction of the economy for that bottom half of America?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love to see, you know, I think tariffs in general, to me, as an idea, makes sense. And, you know, I would like to see that model work, but, you know, to your point, like, I don't know, double dipping doesn't work. And when does it actually kick in? And when does the, you know, the breaker flip to where tariffs can actually really, you know, support the economy? I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question, but to me, I think they work fundamentally. You know,
I would agree with that if they're stable. And I think that's Congress, one, needs to reassert itself. Congress has been completely, they're just spectators in this situation right now. The president wants as much amiability as possible to be able to set tariff rates. One, I don't think that's constitutional. And two, what do markets want? They want stability. What are we seeing? The opposite of that. You know, somebody creates a documentary in Canada and all of a sudden tariffs go up by 50% because the president is mad about it. Look, like, I understand the negotiating thing. I think sometimes people take President Trump too literally when, you know, he's literally written about this in The Art of the Deal. He's literally negotiating on Twitter, fine, or I'm sorry, on Truth Social for him. But it leads to instability, which makes the markets harder to, you know one, what they're paying. They just want some level of understanding. If I'm making a widget, or if I'm in steel, or if I'm in construction, what are my costs so I can like do it effectively? We still don't know day in and day out what the cost of steel is going to be because the tariffs keep changing.
The impact of President tariffs will soon be felt by many of you. As of today, U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum doubled to 50%. Now, while some are praising the action, others are worried what this will do to household budgets.
And it goes country by country. It's not even consistent. So, you know, one, I think Congress needs to step in, and I think the Supreme Court's going to rule against this tariff policy over time. And two,
I think you're right.
You've got to have some, you know, I like the president's ability to negotiate. It's important. He's a businessman, and I think he understands that, and I think it's good. But I also think this isn't a business. And in terms of running national policy from a federal government perspective, again, you just need a little stability. We're seeing anything but that right now.
Yeah, we're not seeing stability.
Yeah.
You know what? It reminds me of somebody who's walking down the aisles, and it's your passionate products, whatever those are. if it's purses for girls and they're just in hoopla mall of different brands, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. It's sensory overload. I think he's got tariff overload, or at least revenue overload, or discounting the value of the hardship people are having right now. And I'm a big proponent of tariffs. I support the tariffs in a manner in which that has a minimal amount of impact on the bottom half of America and a maximum impact on deficit spending and debts. I think the maximum impact has value, and it does. But I see the farmers, let's take the soybean thing.
Yep.
What a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suicide rates skyrocketed for these poor farmers.
Yeah.
The Trump administration admits farmers are not doing well under President Trump's tariffs, most especially soybean farmers. The, quote, collateral damage, as Politico puts it, in the president's trade war with China. Since May, China has not purchased a single U.S. soybean, not a one, according to the American Soybean Association.
It was so bad, and it's still so bad, and nothing's changed. The money hasn't started flowing aggressively like it should have been. We should have never had that problem in the first place with soybeans, corn, wheat, all these different commodities were slow bucked by China or discontinued completely. But there was a story that I read about farmers all over America, but I guess Arkansas got hit really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, really hard for soybeans.
West Tennessee, too.
Did it? West Tennessee?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Southeast Missouri.
Missouri? Okay. Well, there we go. So it's nationwide then. All right. Well, the tractors, because the farmers were going broke so quickly. I mean, they went from income to zero, and most of the farmers have no cash on hand. They live and die by how the weather treats them, right? And then how it usually is the weather, and then what the harvest is, and that these farmers were committing suicide at such an unprecedented rate. I don't think it slowed down actually. That their tractors would come to auction, and if they knew that the tractor or any equipment for that matter was related to a suicide of a family or a farmer, nobody was allowed to bid on them. Nobody. Because it was going to pay off usually bank debt, loans, against the tractors, the house, or whatever it might have been. Zero. And God bless those farmers for making that a mandate. Nobody should be able to take advantage of someone's hardship like that.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. And that was a heartbreaking moment when I read that. I had to read it twice just to get the gist of it. And I'm like, who are these people? Who are these people that at the end of the day feed off that? And I want to know who in the administration was actively saying it's worth the effort. Is it worth the effort?
Well, no.
No.
In my view, no. And I would also argue, there's been talk in Washington about doing a farm bailout in response to the harm that the tariffs have caused to the farmers. Don't do the tariffs and you don't have the farmer issue. Look, we're Americans, and this is, again, a messaging issue that I'm just not sure why the president continues to double down on this. He's talked about how kids should just have $2 instead of 27. In theory, he's right, but Americans want choice. They want cheap products, and putting American goods on the global marketplace is the best way to ensure that our farmers get the biggest bang for the buck for their products, but also all of our manufacturing. Reshoring is important. I agree. And China's been eating our lunch. The president is not wrong on the fact that China's been eating our lunch, and it's an unfair trade advantage from the standpoint of that they are underpricing, and their labor costs are so low, partly because they're a communist country and they don't care about capitalism per se.
That's true.
But they are in a position where, there isn't a, China just isn't playing fair. So, yes, that is a situation that I think tariffs are warranted for China in a targeted way. But again, we didn't have to do this for our farmers for all the other things. Friends of mine in the construction business are having a hell of a hard time figuring out how to build right now because they don't know what the goods are going to cost. So a planning for a new building in West Tennessee probably has an increase of potential costs of 30 to 40% because they don't know what their materials are going to be. And so again, this was unnecessary from a standpoint of, okay, we're trying to solve a budgetary problem in Washington, but we're artificially increasing spending for everything and delaying growth of construction here in the country.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, tariffs are complicated. And, I feel like, is there a world where there is a blanket tariff? I know every country's different. I know every industry is different. And I know that was brought up when they first started negotiating the deal, but to me, the complications around tariffs are because they are so variable over every different country, every different sector, every different industry. And if we focus more on the ones that are hurting the most people, which is farming equipment, soybean exports, that sort of thing. I mean, why couldn't we individualize every single industry that's hurting us the most, focus on those tariffs, and then bring those back, ratchet those back to where it doesn't hurt the consumer as much or the producer as much. That's to me what, if anyone is able to do that, if he's able to make that policy work,
Well, and again, I'd like to see a plan. This isn't just a true social experiment. If you're going to make this massive $1 trillion economy economic change, you need an on-ramp. You need a plan for how to get there. It's a 5-year plan. And okay, we're going to be doing it this way. 2025 we'll be doing this. 2026 we'll be doing this. 2027 we're going to do that to ensure reshoring. If you're Ford and you have a factory in Mexico and you're being disincentivized to be in Mexico anymore, you have to be in the United States. That's a 7-year window to get your factory here built and removed and all these other things. So in the meantime, you're just having punitive cost for the idea of something that would happen in 7 years when you have another people like, well, we're just going to wait Trump out potentially. So I think Liberation Day, I think, was a massive mistake, and I would also argue that from because I think the premise of it was wrong, but on top of that, I would also argue that there wasn't a long-term plan for it. You need to have some type of 7-8 year. This is where we're going. Get the public buy-in to get there. You can't just go on Joe Rogan and say I like tariffs and then say people are okay with it. Like, this is impacting everybody. And so I think from that standpoint, we've kind of missed a window to be able to say, here's why we're doing this. It's not just a revenue thing for Washington, but this will strengthen America in every possible way. I think that's been a failure of communication on that front.
Oh, huge failure of communication. I agree with that 100%. No, I would say that the White House, Liberation Day, April 3rd, I believe it was this year, and the bond market crashed in Europe. It literally crashed, and they had to repeal part of the tariffs the next day. I mean, I remember watching, going, oh boy, this is going to be good. And the Dow dropped 10%. Yep. People were like freaking out. You can't just raise somebody's cost of living by 2.5 times in one day and think that's going to be normalization within any social. I mean, the social impact alone. Can you imagine the fear these people had? Yeah. I mean, the oh my God, what's going to happen? And the markets are crashing. Bond markets are. I mean, nobody. And then you have the fiscal impact. First, it's the social. It's like the mental. Oh my God, that is a train. I'm tied up on the tracks.
Well, you were looking at I feel like I'm being overly negative on it, and I guess I am in a way.
I almost warrant, though. It's almost warranted.
You saw the data from the chart that he showed that was wrong. I mean, it was
terrible.
It was a ChatGPT created chart on trade deficits that was inaccurate.
I know, completely inaccurate.
Yes, we're going to have trade deficits with smaller countries, but that's good. That means our goods are going overseas and going at competitive rates. So the idea of trade deficits in and of itself does not mean that one party is getting hosed at the expense of the other. It means both sides are winning. And I think the idea that you're approaching trade from a standpoint that there's a winner and a loser is anathema to the idea of free trade and creating environments where people are prospering. So instead, you have the situation where you're saying, okay, well, that trade imbalance here equals we're getting taken advantage of is it sounds right, but it's not right. And so again, I think some of the premise of this is inaccurate.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that.
So,
I mean, I agree with you. I really do.
It's hard to argue against it, isn't it? I'm trying to be. There's affirmative and a narrative, and I'm trying to be the affirmative here, but I can't find holes in what you're saying.
I'm a free trader. I make no apologies for it.
Yeah. Do I think we need 120% tariffs on some crazy island we've never heard of? Like that was just, to me, kind of showcase, showboat a little bit. But yeah, the countries that matter, we need to have fair trade 100%. China, Japan, the ones that we actually trade with. But I think the rest, it's just nonsense, really.
It is.
If you had a focused tariff strategy on China, and I know we have a strong competitive disadvantage with China on several fronts right now, But if you were going to actually work on trying to fix the China problem, that would be the best way to go about it. Start there, build the relationships, and introduce the tariffs on Chinese goods. I think that would have been a happy medium to where we are, rather than doing the whole macro global economy and kind of setting everything up for massive chaos.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I loved it when he did the Liberation Day and he had Brazil, and the AI said, "Oh no, we're running a trade deficit." No, I looked it back up. We're running a huge surplus with Brazil. The hell are you doing? And it took months for them to realize that board they put up, and it's not Trump's fault to the extent he goes and he hires good people, or the people around him that are supposed to give him information that is 100% accurate.
Oh, he's failed by his staff on that day by a huge measure. But also, but it was based on the premise of we want to find trade deficits.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't ChatGPT your way through it. You got to actually do some actual economic research.
That's not always accurate.
It is very
Trust
inaccurate.
me, I've had fried eggs on my face a couple, 3 times going, did you see what Chat did, or this or this? And people are like, no, that's wrong. Oh, it is? Oh, sorry. Okay. But we had a multi-trillion-dollar meltdown in the markets the next day. The bond market was trillions. We were like on the verge of default.
Yeah.
People were dumping our bonds. And all you had to do is spend an extra $15 a month on maybe, or $15 an hour on an intern. They would have said, Mr. President, that's not accurate. Oh, well, thank you, Susie. I appreciate that. Oh, you just saved us $13 trillion in economic impact.
What was it?
It's like, wow.
Rich Lowry was talking about how he asked ChatGPT about how the Yankees should improve their pitching. And ChatGPT suggested them trade for a pitcher that was already on the Yankee staff.
Oh.
So, it's like...
Well, at least they were right.
Well, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Just play this guy over that guy. Where's that guy? Well, he's on the bench. Who's he play for? Us.
But,
Okay, cool.
AI has some benefits, but you cannot rely on it solely for information. Certainly can't put the President of the United States out there based on AI and say, here's the facts, Mr. President.
No. We can't do that. We can't do that. George Bush would be going, that's bad. That's not good. That's bad.
Wouldn't be prudent.
Wouldn't be prudent.
Juncture.
That's right. All right. Well, so we're going to take a break. Okay. We're going to talk about China, because it segues from tariffs, because the tariffs were really to affect the trade deficit and the imbalance of fairness within the China-U.S. relationship. That's really what it was about. And so everybody else was kind of either a partner with us or a casualty of war, of Liberation Day. So we'll be right back. We're talking tariffs, China BRICS, and then we're going to talk about this unbelievable disaster last week on digital currency that nobody wants. Nobody wants this. What's wrong with our cash money? What's wrong with privacy? What's wrong with having a driver's license versus digital ID biometrics? What's wrong with having communication over social media? Now we're going to have a social media / credit score. The hell's going on?
Terrifying.
Scary. Very scary. All right, like Halloween, but every day for the rest of our lives. We'll be right back.
On the Record with Christian Briggs will be right back after a word from our sponsor. Gold has more than doubled in just 5 years, rising from $1,700 an ounce in 2020 to over $3,800 an ounce by September 2025. That's a 124% gain, outperforming the market and proving why gold is the ultimate long-term hedge. As global debt soars and currencies weaken, central banks are hoarding gold at record pace. Why aren't you? Call 844-426-4653 or visit bmcham.com. Protect your future with real assets. Own gold now. In uncertain times, the smartest money doesn't sit in the stock market, it holds weight. The price of gold has risen from $1,700 an ounce in 2020 to over $3,800 by late 2025. Silver is currently around $46 an ounce, a 155% increase from roughly $18 5 years ago. Follow on X at BMC_HAM for all news and the latest developments.
All right, welcome back. We just talked about the tariffs and really kind of just gave a really heartfelt understanding, at least from we're not in the administration. Are you guys in part of the administration? No, we're not. Okay. Just making sure. So I know I'm not. Not in the sense of trying to help shape policy on a day-to-day basis. I mean, we obviously have influential friends up there. We know people. We try to do the best we can.
We want them to do well.
We want them to do well. We want them to do well because it continues to grow the party base on the more of a conservative platform of fiscal responsibility. That's really what it's all about. When you think about the Republicans, we all pretty much agree on a lot of the social issues with Democrats to some extent, not quite. There's some overlapping understandings, but when it comes to fiscal policy, we couldn't be further apart.
That's right. Yeah.
Democrats want 90% tax rates. Republicans want 30% tax rates. Meaningful tax rates that still help the government keep our borders safe, our military active, and things like that. And social services are obviously there. Democrats want 90%. But the tariffs make it look like we're at 50, 60, 70% taxes because someone's got to pay this stuff.
Yep.
And China is playing a really smart game. They did 3 primary things over the last 30 years, which was brilliant. Indoctrination of communist policies, or at least Marxist ideology within universities. And now they're going into the high schools, the junior highs, to the elementaries. The K through 12 is now their new target. Brilliant. And really did it the last 50 years. Really since Nixon went over there and saw Mao in 71. Remember those days. You know, I mean, it was like a disaster. Why would you do that? Well, you wanted to normalize trade. You want to normalize business opportunities, which was brilliant in the sense, but it was not so much that he didn't put barriers of manufacturing. And when they joined the World Trade Organization, they cheated. They've been cheating every day since.
And who was Nixon's ambassador to China?
Harry Kissinger.
No, George H.W. Bush.
Oh, George Bush, you're right. Kissinger was Secretary of State.
Yeah.
You're right. It was the Bush. I did know that, but you reminded me of that because he negotiated the trade deals.
Yes, he did.
That's right. You're right. And Kissinger negotiated bigger policies on a much, much grander scale. Yep. And in fact, Kissinger was the one that convinced Nixon to get off the gold standard. Disaster. Here comes China going, yeah, you dumb. One, you're going off the gold standard, toodles to the dollar. Boom. You let us in the WTO, toodles to your manufacturing. And then Bill Clinton put the nail in the coffin with NAFTA. Yep. Remember that?
Yep.
And Ross Perot was right. He was a brilliant. I was fortunate to meet him a couple times. And his son is also very, very, very smart. Junior is very smart. Ross Perot Jr. and his dad, they're a great combination of the two of them. In intelligence and understanding both fiscal policy and politics and diplomacy and democratic, things of which that we almost kind of compared Nixon to a Democrat. Let's destroy the dollar. We'll create inflation. I wanted to get reelected. We have bad trade policies. We inflated the money supply. Things like that. You would think that they're Democrats, but they're just dumb people. Ignorant people that which to try to stay into power longer, but China's playing the game. Your client is a tractor manufacturer and a big one,
right?
Huge.
Yeah.
What do they think about this?
Let
me ask this real quick. Are they made in China, their parts?
Based in Japan.
Based in Japan.
So,
okay. All right.
But not much different. It's like I was saying, we're seeing cuts on spending by 50% at sometimes. We're seeing equipment hung at import, all across the world. So, I mean, there's definitely implications to it. And like I said, it's going back to, the farmer, the construction worker, and they're having to raise their prices. Like they've raised prices on, I'd say, almost all their equipment.
Parts too?
Parts too.
Okay, parts too.
Parts equipment. There's sometimes, there's some things that are made here. I mean, there's a manufacturing plant in Georgia that's, a lot of it's put together at, but it's still got to get imported here. Engines, parts, all of that gets imported. And it's hurting, they're trying to be more dominant in America. And they already are a dominant company. But when it comes to the American-made companies, which still import a lot of their parts, right? Sourced, so overseas. It's being felt across the entire industry. But
are their sales slowed down yet? Because of this? Have they been impacted?
It's slowed down some, for sure. I mean, but they have such a useful piece, everyone needs it. It's like having a shovel.
They'll pay for it.
Yeah, they have to pay for it because they have to have it to do business. But which means they raise their prices on construction, which maybe goes back to your home builder, which, they're moving dirt, they're doing anything, in foundation work or anything, that price is higher. So, yeah.
So what do you think about China's playbook? I mean, they're smart. How much money have they spent on wars?
100 years out,
Dude, they do. They haven't had a war since 1850. Well, at least not one that they actually spent money on bullets and military equipment. That's a financial war.
I think they're playing a very brilliant long game right now.
Yeah.
But I also think I want to wax existential for a moment. Freedom beats not freedom every time, and China's still a communist country. And I think there are opportunities that American freedom can present to the Chinese to allow for an understanding of what's possible versus what's not possible for them right now. So they're winning in a lot of ways, both from a kind of a global competitive standpoint and from a quantum computing standpoint and from a AI standpoint. I mean, they are aggressively competing with the U.S., and I think that's a challenge that we need to face. But I also think we can beat them when we talk about principles and freedom and opportunity that they don't have. And I think it's how we beat communism, right? There was times in the 70s, 60s in Khrushchev where we were very concerned that we couldn't beat the communists. And it took Reagan, it took optimism, it took a feeling of American can-do ingenuity and spirit to do it. And I think that's something we need to kind of tap into again. And I don't think we have in a good way. I think Trump's actually probably one of the best cheerleaders that our country has seen in a long time. Is like a pro-American cheerleader. I think if we got rid of the distractions a little bit and just focused on what Americans can do when they put their mind to something, I think we could do it. But we have to have that unifying moment, and we're just not there right now. We're too divided. I think the best thing that China's doing is using social media to divide us. And I think that's actually one of their best strategic advantages to us right now is just using pure numbers-based algorithmic manipulation that's making our youth go against each other. We're kind of addicted to our phones and social media.
In China, the government controls what citizens can and cannot see on the internet. This morning, new signs Beijing is targeting the US with its propaganda.
And that's more detrimental.
What did you say? I was reading a text.
That's more detrimental than anything China's doing from a policy standpoint. Yeah. I think if we were actually focused and determined and had leadership that said, this is our project and our goal, let's go do it, let's go beat China, I think we would. But it's a matter of having that understanding and that actual clarity of vision to say this is what we're up against, what we need to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think, Chad, about the China trade
completely.
Here?
I mean, I think to go back to the social media part, I mean, I see it every day. Working in this world of marketing and messaging and communication, half of what's out there is, Chinese or
propaganda,
some sort of bot that's just igniting fires all over the internet all day, 24 hours a day. And it's just dividing. And actually that, I'll give them props. That is causing a lot of rift here. It's causing division. It's causing all kinds of, we can't come together.
No. Because we're believing something that's really not there. We're believing stuff that's not true.
That's right.
Yeah. It may not be a civil war, but it sure feels like one. Right?
Yeah.
Well, in D.C. it feels like it. Yeah.
Right?
It feels like
you're even wearing a blue hat or a red hat. And we need a red, white, and blue hat right now. Like, we have a real big problem against China, and we're not addressing it very effectively right now. It's all partisan politics.
No, I know. So, okay, so if we start to look at the I call it the China trade, which is really the trade of how we configure China within our trying to figure out how we make money with China. Because right now, they're making money off us. I mean, we're not making money from China. We're not at all making money from China. People go, oh, we've manufactured all these goods. We kept prices low. But if you look at the prosperity that they've had the last 35, 40 years, it's on our nickel. It's on our dimes, our quarters, our half dollars, our silver dollars. It is on our back. It's like somebody once said, China in 1971 was this not even $1 trillion economy. It's like a 500 billion, 300 billion. I think it was $250 billion economy. Just think of $250 billion. I think we spend that much money a month in interest or something on the debt. Okay? And now they're a $20 trillion economy. It's not 10-fold. It's 20-fold. It's 30-fold. It's 40-fold. And what's interesting is the perspective of what have we done since then? Not even close to that. And they've got some debt, but their debt has been from infrastructure success.
Yep.
Putting the money back into their own cities and roads and bridges and schools and building manufacturing that now has stripped us of our brands. Remember the point I made today with you, Chris, earlier before the show? China copies everything. Yeah. Then they took it and they made it their own.
That's right.
Okay. When Tesla went over there, they make it better. I'll take two steps here. First step was to talk about the Ford CEO, brilliant guy, goes over there earlier this year on behalf of the administration to check out China's products, goes to the car business, BYD and a few other car manufacturers, comes back to Trump or people within the administration, and they say, well, how was it? Did you enjoy it? Was it beautiful? Was it great? How was the food? He goes, okay, well, they built a car that's twice as good for half the price. We're in trouble. That's what he said.
Yeah.
We're in trouble. Well, if you hand them the recipe, these guys, these little people, whatever, we would call the factory workers, the engineers, the business people of China, these people are going to reverse engineer this stuff, and they can make it better because here's why. They have unlimited resources with government help. Government subsidizes everything. And two, they have the quarter of the labor cost.
Yeah.
It's a quarter of the labor cost. So if you want to make in the United States, we manufacture something for $1, they're going to manufacture it for 20 to 25 cents and actually sell it for that.
Well, when you're talking about the Ford CEO, I'm thinking of unions, right? I've been to the Dearborn Ford Auto facility, and there's all these union posters and all those things. And I mean, it just artificially increases the cost of producing anything there. Now amplify that by 1,000x with the population and kind of the automation that's happening in China. Yeah, that's exactly why they're creating it better and cheaper. Where's that balance here? Taking care of jobs, which the president is right to worry about and make sure that we have people that have purpose and meaning and have jobs, at the same time being competitive in a global marketplace where China is not ascendant, but hopefully descendant and us ascendant again. And so that's going to be a real interesting balance for us over the long haul as we create things, and you introduce AI into this process too. It's we've got a real labor issue that's coming up over the next 5 years that we've got to really figure out, both from a cost standpoint and an automation standpoint and a technological standpoint that we've got to figure out how to get some policy around.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I agree we got to do policy in order to be able to do fiscal policy on trade, policy on understanding of the cost structures of what we're going to implement. There was no thought process on these tariffs.
No.
And China loved it. The BRICS, they're laughing all the way. And here's something else I was reading, which I have known this for some months, just by looking at it from, even from an outsider perspective. Russia doesn't want to end the war yet.
No. Yeah.
They do not want to end this war yet. They do not want to end this war. They're depleting the resources of us and Europe. They're depleting our resources. They're creating the inflationary. They're also using all of our military strengths by depleting our military resources specifically.
Yeah.
And three, it's a distraction. While China goes and spends billions of dollars in the Caribbean, South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America, in infrastructure deals, partnerships, long-term, they call them cooperation agreements. We're over here worrying about Ukraine. And every day, Ukraine is getting a little bit less of Ukraine and a little more of Russia. And North Korea, China is supplementing their military exercises with armament and military budgets that Russia could never have afforded. And commodity prices are high, and Russia's selling a lot of stuff. I mean, India is helping Russia by buying oil, then flipping it over to us. These guys are smart.
And look at the warfare happening over there from a cost standpoint. We're using rockets and 20th century technology that's 30x the cost of the drone technology that is starting to be implemented over there. And so we're seeing an interesting kind of divergence on warfare costs, that we are still playing kind of an older game. And look, we're spending a ton of money at the Pentagon. I'm convinced that we are doing a lot of advanced technology too. If we're not, shame on us, and I'm sure we are. But what we're seeing in the actual theater is older technology versus newer technology, and seeing how that's playing out. And I think Russia is taking notes, China's taking notes. Obviously, we're taking notes too, and figuring out how all that stuff is playing out. Again, yeah. What you're saying is scary in the sense of, China's investing in a lot of places and playing the long game, and we're playing along with it. And the strategy around that is lacking. It sounds like. So I understand the president's view on trying to get us out of the Ukraine situation quickly, in part because we've got things to worry about here.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're playing the long game. Yeah. See, that's the problem with Americans. We're drive-through. We're microwave. We're not the crock pot.
Right.
You can't put a roast in a microwave and get the same net result of the quality of the meal. China is playing the long game, and they're going to win this. They're going to win the table. Remember John Wick, the high table?
Yeah.
They're at the high table, and they're feasting off our complacency. That's what it's been for 50 years, complacency. Especially the last 30, 35 years since the WTO brought them in, and they've cheated every time. They've done unbelievable amount of predatory selling through artificially selling at below cost, oversupplying, hurting our manufacturing and heavy industry too, especially steel, aluminum, glass, especially commercial aviation manufacturing. I mean, a host of things, cars parts, and go on and on and on. And they've done predatory selling. They've done predatory lending by lending money to all these third world countries, by securing minerals that we would desperately need. And we did do a Tennessee deal. Did you see it got challenged today in court?
I did not see
Yes,
that.
it did. It got challenged in court today.
Wow.
I'm sure the Chinese had a hand in that retainer.
I saw one point about vehicles, right?
Yeah.
So the mega site outside of Memphis is
Yeah.
going to be Ford, all electric,
right.
Ford Lightning. Maybe 2 days ago,
Yep.
going to be gas powered.
Yep.
So they can't compete. They can't make it.
They cannot compete
profitable.
against the Chinese
And-
EVs.
Right. So, that's to me that's a big black eye.
I'm
That's
okay with
huge.
that though, because ultimately, you and I have talked about this multiple times. I am less bullish on electric vehicles overall because I actually think freedom and opportunity in terms of driving is better than Big Brother in my car. Whether or not it's Elon, who I love Teslas and looking what they're doing, but I also like the ability of not having a camera in my car telling me whether or not I should have my hands on the
Why
wheel.
not?
Because I like freedom. I don't like control.
If you're doing nothing wrong, it's okay, Chris.
Well, I think there was a whole Will Smith movie about that. So, I think there's a whole. The gig economy has advantages, but it has a lot of disadvantages. And again, Ben Franklin, don't sacrifice freedom for for opportunity. Or not. I'm butchering that quote.
I know
but,
you're butchering. Don't sacrifice freedom for efficiency, safety, convenience.
Yeah.
I can name it all.
Giving it up for
You'll never get it back.
You don't get it back.
You never
And
get it
so,
back.
yeah, I'm, and that goes to what we were talking about earlier about stable coins and other things. I mean, having freedom and autonomy is infinitely more important and worth fighting for over convenience and digital assets.
And the three top buzzwords, and number one is efficiency and this whole stupid stablecoin thing. It's just stupid. It's stupid for us to go along with something that would lead to communistic monetary policy. In order for things of which to be fulfilled, you have to go full digital. You have to be fully digital in the whole world. We are now the last holdout. We were holding out the longest time because China has been doing this for years on the digital yuan. Yeah. They have. In Europe, obviously, it starts embracing. Heck, in Europe, you won't even be able to hold private crypto over 10,000 euros come January of 27. And by July of 27, they're going to negate cash altogether.
I like the term become ungovernable.
Yeah.
Cash and
precious metals
of that
hard
make
assets.
You have the power,
yes,
not the politician.
That's right. That's right.
And yes, the Federal Reserve is printing too much, and yes, we're going to see 20% inflation based on the bond issue that they're working on right now. But again, it's about freedom versus control.
Yep.
And I am a freedom absolutist, and in that instance, again, I just embrace the idea of become ungovernable. If the federal government or anyone is suggesting digital currency, digital IDs, it's COVID all over again.
I know.
Like if you hated COVID, look at what's going to happen in a digital infrastructure where they're going to make you do things to get to a football game or to go to a store.
Yeah.
That's not what we want. We want choice and freedom, and that is the opposite of that.
Wait. Why would you want choice and freedom?
Because I'm an American, daggone it.
I don't know. All right. We got to end it here. My 53 minutes is now up. I got to cut off at 52 minutes. We'll be on major network here today and tomorrow. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
I think we solved the world's problems.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Jeremy? Yeah, let's get a shot of Jeremy here. Get a shot of Jeremy here. Look at this guy. And then this is Chris, the famous actor, Christopher Walken. I loved you in Bond 84 movie.
Oh, yeah, it's so good.
A View to a Kill. All right, well, listen, we'll be back with another show tomorrow. Thanks for joining me, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're on the record finally.
In uncertain times, the smartest money doesn't sit in the stock market, it holds weight. The price of gold has risen from $1,700 an ounce in 2020 to over $3,800 by late 2025. Silver is currently around $46 an ounce, a 155% increase from roughly $18 5 years ago. Follow on X at BMC_HAM for all news and the latest developments. Gold has more than doubled in just 5 years, rising from $1,700 an ounce in 2020 to over $3,800 an ounce by September 2025. That's a 124% gain, outperforming the market and proving why gold is the ultimate long-term hedge. As global debt soars and currencies weaken, central banks are hoarding gold at record pace. Why aren't you? Call 844-426-4653 or visit bmcham.com. Protect your future with real assets. Own gold now.